are living, hey, single. Ooh, in a 90s kind of world. I'm glad I got my girl. Keep your head up, work. Keep your head up. That's right. Whenever this life gets tough, you gotta find. And my homegirl standing to my left and my right, true blue. We tight like glue. Check it out, check it out, check it out, check. I'm just playing. Hey, welcome, family. This is B Ministry Just Talk. My name is Tanisha Lee, and welcome. So I'm doing a little special episode because it's Valentine's Day. So if you're listening or watching, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a great day. So today I am going to talk about singleness. And I always say that this is my ministry. It's something that I specialize in because I am single and have been for the last 9.5 years. So initially, I was going to bring somebody on, and that is to come. But I really heard God say, Tanisha, you need to be talking about your singleness. You need to be talking about your story. So I'm going to get into my journey, the last 9.5 years, get into my journey. What have I experienced? How it started, my epiphany or my defining moment, and everything like that. So let's get into it. Um, so this single season. So let's talk about pre-single season. So I didn't have a bad childhood. It was, decent, nothing crazy, but I was a tomboy growing up. So, boys weren't looking at me like they were looking at other people as we got older in middle school or what have you. Wore the baggy shirt, the baggy pants, played basketball, played sports, had just had that swag. Like I just was a tomboy and enjoyed hanging with the dudes, but I was never really looking at them. And I never really cared about relationship or boyfriend, girlfriend type stuff. Well, I moved middle schools when I was younger and got a new wardrobe before I went to middle school. So I had some pants that were a little bit more form fitting and some shorts that was a little bit more form fitting. And I found when I got to school, like I got a whole lot of attention. And I was like, oh, this is what I had to do for people to like me. I had to dress a certain kind of way to get some attention. So saying all that, that's like one of the key things. Like it starts changing the way you look at relationships or define relationships. Like, okay, I got to dress a certain kind of way to attract somebody. And that's in middle school. That's like seventh grade. So you start thinking about that. So that was that. And of course, you start experimenting, boyfriend. So my first relationship was about 14 years old. And mind you, I didn't really have a good, and my I guess my definition of being in a relationship was skewed. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to define it. So you're kind of trying to figure it out along the way. And I didn't have a lot of relationships going through, the years, but I would stay in these relationships for, a year, 2 years. So you're starting at 14 years old and you're going to these 2-year increments. And, of course, I'm thinking that time equates to love. The more time you put in, no matter what's going on, no matter if it's toxic or not. And I don't think that I could truly define what toxic behavior was or know what toxic behavior was. So no matter if the behavior was wrong or not, I was staying in these situations or I was staying in these relationships for just because of time. Like, okay, I've been with this person for 12 months and that's, I gotta stay in it. So you're developing these unhealthy habits or these unhealthy views of what relationships were at a young age. So starting at 14, and that went on for years. Finally, I graduated high school. I do go to the Navy. You meet people in the Navy, and you're still basing your relationship or your picks or what have you with the things that you learned early on. And if those things weren't quite right or they were skewed in some type of way, then you're using that judgment to meet people. So, I'm still, moving the same way. I'm meeting people and it just those relationships I don't think meant me any good. Not saying that those people were bad, but there was no vision, there was nothing to add to it, there was no ministry involved. I knew who God was. I was saved at a young age. I went to church, but I didn't know that I should be communing and talking that relationship. That's the important piece. The relationship. I didn't know that relationship with God would keep me from doing the wrong things or going the wrong way. I would have that conviction. I would have that connection where I could like, God, who is this person to me, and what are they supposed to be? What is their motive? And I can move the way He wants me to move, vice me just trying to figure out for myself. So doing that from 14 to 25, and everybody has like their defining moment, the defining moment, and mine was 25, and I actually was in a relationship, but it was different this time. And he wasn't a bad person at all. Like, he probably was one of the best people that I ever was with. But that old saying, it wasn't him, it was me. And it truly was. And I think that you are in these relationships, and my problem, one of my biggest problems was loyalty. I was loyal to the person that I was with. I was loyal to the point where I would put God on the back burner. So this person was getting all my energy, all my time. I wasn't working in ministry. I would put everything, all my plans, all my things down so I can be able to cater to this person because, like I said, the view of relationship for me was skewed. So I'm learning that I have to do all these things in order to appease and keep this person. So I didn't even truly know what a healthy relationship was. And then somebody that's desiring marriage, I didn't know the work that it took to be in a marriage or what you're supposed to do in a marriage. I'm just putting all the pieces that I collected over the years. I'm putting all these pieces together and trying to have a relationship. So 25, I'm trying to make this real quick because I don't want to bore you out with my story, but 25, I get an email and it says, we have this job opening in Japan. You have 3 days to let us know if you want it. And I'm like, I didn't apply for no job in Japan. And I'm looking at it. And at that time, they just had the earthquake. And I'm not about no earthquakes. So I'm like, I'm not going over there. Like, I always say these things with such conviction. And it's so funny because God shows me every single time when I'm at that point saying something that with so much conviction. I'm like, God got to show me if I'm supposed to go over there. So go over a weekend. So it's over a weekend. And at the time, I ended up I got a promotion at my job. I found this townhouse. So I'm like, oh, we about to do it big. We finally getting settled. I had transitioned out of the military. So everything's starting to be settled and I'm starting to get comfortable. But I'm comfortable in mess, and that's the problem. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you got to show me if I'm supposed to go over there. But I'm saying it sarcastically and with conviction because I'm like, I'm not going because that's me. So I'm like, okay, all right. So we go over a weekend, and over that weekend, I went to go watch my brother play basketball. We were in this gym, and I didn't have any signal on my phone or nothing. And it was raining that day, but apparently there was a series of storms all across where I worked at, where my house was going to be at, everything. There was a series of storms. So when I got out of the gym, people were calling me like, hey, are you okay? These tornadoes hit, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I was watching a basketball game. So that Monday, I get a call from the housing manager, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that you can't move into the house because it got hit by tornadoes and you just can't move in, it's damaged. I'm like, what? And she said, but don't worry, we're giving you all your money back. And that's the same day I was supposed to let them know whether or not I was going to go to Japan or not. So let me say, if you ask God, he'll tell you what you're supposed to do, especially if you do it with conviction. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Japan. Being in the military, long distance relationships are, sometimes it's normal. So I'm like, okay, we trying to work it out, and we had, what our plans was going to be. But when I got to Japan, at that time, Japan was a place where men weren't really looking at Black women like that. So it's like, I'm gonna send you to a place where you're not going to have no distractions. You can just solely focus on me. And being in that relationship was a distraction for God. Like, he's like, no, you're going to cut off all ties. You're going to cut off all ties. And so that particular relationship I had to end because it was God's time. And I was a little bit upset about it because I'm like, but he's a good person, Lord. this is in my eyes, he's a good person. Like I mean, he loves me, treats me right. We both have vision and plans for our life and everything like that. But God's like, nah, you got a whole lot of stuff to do. Because mind you, like I said, starting from age 14 and then you're going to 25 and you have to go. It's like God had to go back and unlearn all those unhealthy things that I learned and that I was doing and how I moved, and teach me something new. Teach me who I am in him and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I had to be okay with letting go of everything. Like, cut everybody off. You ain't talking to no ex, get them out your phone. And because I live in Japan, it was kind of hard. I mean, we had social media, but it's kind of hard to stay in contact with people because I had a Japanese phone number. People weren't calling my phone on the regular. So God is like, okay, you got to cut everybody off. You ain't inboxing nobody. You're not searching for them on social media. You're not emailing them. You're not doing none of the above. It's going to be me and you. And I'm like, all right, Lord, you got it. And that probably was the most beneficial time for me because I got to go back and sit in the places that I was hurt. Whether somebody ghosted me, whether somebody um, talked bad about me, called me crazy, if they said I wasn't worthy, I wasn't valuable, whatever happened that hurt me. And mind you, some of that stuff that I had going on was prior to even getting into a relationship. So I had mess or stuff going on with me, insecurities going on with me prior to even diving into relationships. So during that journey, I got to go back, and it started. I rededicated my life September 26, 2011. So I say that's my anniversary. So that day until now, he's just been showing me stuff and healing me and allowing me to forgive myself, and then pray for those that I might have hurt, because we always want to play the victim and we always want to act like it was, I was the good person and they the ones that had, little stuff going on and everything. But sometimes it was us. We were the ones messed up. So I'm going back and praying for those people that I might have hurt because they might be carrying that in their relationship. So that 5 years was just so beneficial and so critical to my growth in my ministry and just whatever God wants me to do, being available to him, learning who he is, moving the way he said moving. That's not saying that people didn't try to approach me or date me, but he kept me covered because he could show me who a person was when they walking up. He'd be like, I want you to treat them with the love of Christ, but that's not the one for you. And I'm like, roger that, Lord. But it took some time. I think the first couple of years, I still was in that mode of, and then you're getting older too. So you're like, I got to get married because that equals success. Marriage equals prosperity. Marriage equals, and that's what society just pours on us, that marriage equals this happiness and this big happy picture. And where I'm at right now is not good enough. So I had to unlearn all those things. So I still had that mindset initially that, okay, I got to find a husband, and every man that come to church, I'm checking his finger and I'm looking at my homegirls and we like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, it got to a point where I'm like, Lord, I don't want to be like this. When I'm in church, I want to focus on you and I want to worship you. I don't want to be thinking about who's in the left pew and who's in the right pew and who is the best dressed in church. It just got to the point where I did not want those things. But it was one of those, another defining moment for me is that I made a conviction. I was like, Lord, if it's not of you, I do not want it. I don't think I truly knew what that meant at the time. Because when I say he has kept a hedge of protection around me, that no one could penetrate, it got to be the man of God. It has to be the man of God he has for me, because nobody could penetrate that thing. Like nobody. Nobody would approach me. And I'm like, God, something wrong with me. So I'm changing up my hair. I'm dropping pounds. I'm in the gym. I'm doing all these things that you think you got to do on the outside, not realizing God was changing me on the inside, changing my desires, what I wanted, what I was looking for. So even if they came up to me, they didn't appeal to me anymore. I didn't have that taste anymore. I didn't have that desire anymore. So I'm learning all that stuff in Japan. It's like he had me in hiding, like, okay, Lord. I'm like, okay, Lord, it's only going to be for a year or two. I'm not worried about it because I always got picks. this ain't gonna last long. But when it started getting about around, year 3, I was like, okay, Lord, now, and you're watching people on Facebook get engaged, and you're watching people get married, and you're happy for them, but you're like, okay, Lord, am I up next? Because I'm creeping up on 30 now. What's going on? And so you're watching that, and you know that you're not a jealous person, but you start feeling that jealousy. You start comparing your life. You start questioning, like, okay, I go to church, I'm saved, I pay my tithes, I do all this stuff. Why is he not blessing me like he's a genie? Why is he not blessing me in this area? And you're starting to get off focus. So those are the just another wave of things that I had to go through and learn. Like, Tanisha, stop comparing your life. God has ministry in you right now that you're supposed to be doing, but you're too busy worried about everybody else. So I'm going through these different emotions, like, Lord, what's wrong with me? Like I said, you changing up all the physical stuff, and that didn't matter. None of that ever mattered. You were fine the way you were. So I'm learning all these things while I'm in Japan, just isolated from everybody, just learning how a man should treat. I ended up joining a church, and that church was pivotal to how Christ treats us. It's pivotal. Like, they demonstrated that some stuff that I never knew. A man opening up the door for you, taking the chairs and putting them up, and them telling us, like, don't worry about that. We got that for you. I never had that because we were trained to be independent. We were trained to not need anybody. We were trained to, which are things that I couldn't carry into a marriage. So say I did get married back when I wanted to, I wasn't ready. I didn't even know those things, the give and take. Like, no, you can sit down and rest. I got you. So that church, it taught me, and it was a church where I didn't have to worry about a man violating me, looking at me, coming to me with any kind of sexual innuendos or anything like that. I didn't have to worry about that. I was protected in that church. And that was another pivotal part of my journey that was essential. Like, I needed to know that there were men out there that weren't doing that were going to cherish a woman, that was going to treat a woman the way she should be treated, and not like a possession. So it was pivotal for me to be in that place at that time. And it was just such an amazing journey. So I spent 5 years in Japan, 5 years, number of grace. I spent 5 years in Japan just healing and learning and knowing how to move as a woman and embracing my femininity and my beauty and my voice, just learning about all this stuff. So then I'm like, okay, bet. I learned. I was in Japan, God, I was faithful. I was up in there. When I get back to the States, baby, it's on, because I know my husband coming. And God like, Tish, you still worried about that? Like, I still have a work in you. So when I left Japan, I was kind of in that mode, like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm 30 now. And just to backtrack, when I was in Japan, I remember talking to one of my coworkers, and he was like, talking about the women, the culture. And he was saying that if women didn't get married by the time they were 30, that they were looked down upon. And I was like, I think at the time I was like 28, and I was like, Lord, I need to hurry up. Like, God, you need to hurry up. I got 2 more years before people start looking at me crazy. So I leave Japan, and of course I'm back in I call it the world, because I felt like it was isolation in that, in the country. So I'm back in the States, and I'm like, okay, now this is my season. I'm decreeing and I'm declaring. I've been doing the right things. God about to bless me. And it still did not happen the way I pictured it. So I'm like, okay, Lord. And he like, you still, Tanisha, stop. I want you to put down, like, I heard your prayers. I got you. I want you to put that down for a second, because your singleness is ministry. And I remember hearing the words that you are going to be more effective right now single than you are attached to somebody. And I'm like, Lord, what that mean? And we sometimes I be dramatic. Like, I'm like, okay, Lord, what does that mean? That I'm not supposed to get married? Like, you don't have nobody for me? And it was like, no, Tanisha, like, you're going to be more effective single right now than you are with somebody, because of this walk that you're walking. You're trying to be pure. You're somebody that it did experience sex. I do have a daughter, so I had a child out of wedlock, but you rededicated your life, and you've been walking this line of purity that people need to know about. They need to know how you did it, what you were doing, how did you turn all that stuff off? Because it's natural. So it's a natural part of our body. How did you resist temptation? So there's pieces of my singleness that people need to hear about. And God started explaining it to me. And it's almost like this. Consider this. Everything else is a ministry. You got the marriage ministry, you got the music ministry. Why can't your singleness be your ministry, be your testimony, be fruit? So people could see, like, okay, I need a blueprint on how to do this thing because I'm trying to walk closer to God. Who can I go to? Who can I watch? Who can I see? Who can I get tips from? Who can I get motivation from? Who can I get inspiration from? I have a person that's going through the same thing I'm going through right now. So any complaints that I have, she probably had them and she might have some answers. So he was showing me that, okay, Tanisha, this is ministry. You need to be speaking. You haven't been speaking. Of course, you had to go through healing processes, so you weren't speaking out of your pain, but now you need to talk about it. And you need to let people know, like, it is attainable. It ain't easy. Do you fall? Yes, you fall. But you need to be talking about it so people can know how to maneuver, how to move, that you can band together and pray for each other. Whether they get married or not, they're still worthy. They still have purpose, whether they're attached to somebody or not. So there was so much that he was giving to me once I got out. So that's year 5. And now I'm at year 9.5. And I'm really now, of course, he told me 4 years ago, you need to start talking about it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. And I didn't really, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm writing and putting it down in words, but I haven't got my story out and what I've been doing. And just think of all the people that might have been lost because I didn't want to use my voice, because I was caught up in my insecurities of my voice and everything like that. So we're at year 9.5, and I have so much peace in my life. Like I said, it sometimes you have your moments, like everybody does in every situation. You have your moments, but there's so much word in me, and there's so much faith in God and what He's doing in my life that it doesn't keep me down for long. I'm like, let me get back up because I have work to do and I have a purpose, and people are depending on me. Those things weigh more than wanting marriage now. And I think that's the important part. Those things that are of God start weighing more than the earthly things. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't really want that bad. Like, it's going to be nice and it's going to be a blessing and it's going to glorify God, but this is too what I'm doing right now is too. So I started looking at it like that and just really decided that, okay, this year, Tanisha, you're going to talk about it and you're going to be open and honest about your journey, because it is something that people need to hear, young or old. There's people now, I'm 35 now, but there's people who might be 25 like you were when you got your epiphany. You didn't know how this journey was going to be. You didn't know that it was going to be almost 10 years later that you're still sitting here, but God showed you and grew you and matured you so much that it was worth it. Like I would do it again. So, and then like I said, I have a daughter who's 14 right now, who I can pour into right now, who I can give her the things that I might have been missing, show her how to move, show her what to look for, show her how to be independent, but not independent like I don't need anybody, but learning how to move without somebody coming in and changing the way you move or swaying your position. So I could teach her those things. So it just was so important for me to go through this journey, and I stopped counting. Now I could say 9.5 years because I do go back to my anniversary, but I'm not every day counting in my head like, Lord, it's been 2 years. When you gonna bless me? Lord, it's been 3 years. When you gonna bless me? Because I was like that, just a little bitter. And then you watching people, you might see some of your exes get married and be like, Lord, he was a dog. Why he getting married before me? That's what I want. Why is he doing that? And you're looking at the wrong thing. So just examining and looking at the wrong thing. So it just was so much that I learned in this season. And like I said, we're gonna dive and talk about this more in depth at a later date. But I just wanted to get out my last couple of years and what I've been doing and what I've been experiencing, and how I've grown so much and matured so much, where you do have a little naysayers or people say like you're going to go crazy, or you're going to be the cat lady, or you're going to end up by yourself, and you have to learn how to separate those people if you can't, sometimes people, it might be your family, you can't really cut them off, but you can set up boundaries like, okay, we're not going to have that discussion to talk about them. Or you can use it as a time to educate them, like, let me tell y'all what God is doing for me. That's your time, that's your witness, because your testimony is your witness. So that's your time to witness, so they can see like God has been good. He has not taken anything away from me, and he's going to continue to bless me, whether it's a man or not. He's going to continue to bless me because I am walking in obedience, and that's the important part. So just using it as a tool of education for those people that might not understand because they were raised in a different era, or they just haven't got to the place where they can be happy alone. You can be single and be happy and joyful and still do things. I go out, take myself to eat. I like to go to the movies by myself and sit up there and eat my popcorn because that's what I love. I can sit and eat my popcorn and watch my movie. I don't have people calling my phone or texting my phone. And at first, I'm like, my phone dry. Like nobody call or text, but I also don't have no drama in my life. I don't have any of that. So when I do have a suitor, or when I do have a potential spouse, we ain't starting off unhealthy. Like we starting off from a clean slate. We getting to learn each other, how each other move. I get to know like, okay, do you got issues with your mama? You got issues with your daddy? How do you handle anger? How do you handle your finances? I get to learn all those things and make a informed decision. Vice when I was younger, I was just jumping head first, and then we just figuring it out on the way because the physical was there. So it's so much that I learned. I'm thankful for the journey. And I never just, I always say like I'm the face piece of the single people because I'm a veteran in this game. I've been single for a long time, but I think it had a negative undertone, but it should be a positive undertone. Like you can be somebody that helps people that are trying to navigate the season, or they just don't know what to do. So I think that's what I'm learning in the season, just trying to encourage those that find themselves single, divorced, widowed, whatever the case may be, but you're worth it. You're worthy right now. You don't have to go and get anybody to increase your value. You're valuable to God right now. He can use you right where you're at. So that's it. That's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini episode for Valentine's Day. I truly do hope you have a lovely Valentine's Day. And like I said, if you find yourself single, do something nice for yourself. Go to an expensive restaurant. You're only paying for yourself. Buy the most expensive meal. Let the waiter wait on you. You're getting serviced. You're getting waited on. Like you do that. Go get your nails done, your toes done. If go get a massage. Dress up really nice and go walk around at the mall. Go to the park if it's not cold. It's a little chilly out here, but go to the park if it's not cold. Sit and read a book, watch a movie. Do something for yourself. Keep yourself grounded. If you find yourself getting lonely during these times, or maybe a little depressed, get you a circle that you can lean and depend on during this time to uplift you, to uplift each other. Maybe y'all can get together, have a girls' night, or get together, have a guys' night, watch games. They got these different card games out now. Play some card games with all the little different trivias on it. Play some card games and do that. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the time of being single. It's not a burden. You can learn so much in this season. You can do so much in this season. So do that and stick with God. He's going to show you who it is and who it ain't, who you're supposed to be and who you're not supposed to be with. He's going to show you how to move in this season. So, stay close to him and do that. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening, and thank you for watching. If you're watching, you can follow me on It's Me, Tanisha Lee, on Instagram. And thank you, and y'all have a great one. Bye.